There is a specific moment that almost every broke person knows intimately. You're standing in a grocery store. Not the nice one, the one that's close enough to walk to, and you're doing math in your head while you shop, not because you enjoy math, but because you cannot afford to reach the register and discover you've miscalculated. You put the olive oil back. You choose the smaller pack. You stand in the aisle and do arithmetic about whether you can afford to eat the way you want to eat this week. Nobody sees this. Nobody knows you're doing it. You look perfectly normal from the outside, but inside, there is a calculation running constantly, a low hum of financial anxiety that never fully turns off. It follows you into the checkout line. It follows you home. It's there when you wake up at 2 in the morning for no reason you can name. Now, I want you to picture someone else. Similar age, similar city. Not rich, they are not driving a luxury car or living in a penthouse. They earn $49,000 a year. By most measures, that is not a lot of money. But when something breaks unexpectedly, the phone screen, the car, the appliance, they don't feel that lurch of dread in their stomach. They just handle it, quietly, without panic, without debt. The distance between those two people is not a salary difference. It is not a second income. It is not a lucky inheritance or a trust fund or a better zip code. It is one habit. A habit so small it sounds almost insulting when you first hear it. My name is Zik, and today I'm going to tell you exactly what that habit is, why your brain is wired to make it nearly impossible to save without it, and how someone went from zero savings to handling 3 financial emergencies in a single year without once reaching for a credit card. This is the real reason why you can't save. Before I show you what works, I need to show you why everything else doesn't, because you have probably tried to save money before. And if you are still watching this video, it probably didn't go the way you planned, and I want you to understand something clearly. That is not a character flaw. That is a design flaw in the advice you were given. The standard savings advice in this country was written for people with stable, predictable income and enough margin in their monthly budget to absorb a sudden reduction in take-home pay. That description fits fewer Americans every year. Right now, 48% of adults are living paycheck to paycheck. 70 million people are doing some form of gig work income that looks less like a salary and more like a heartbeat monitor during a panic attack. 1 month, $2,000, the next month, $900. Traditional budgeting has no answer for this. 20% of chaos is still chaos, but here is the part that actually matters, and this is the part nobody talks about honestly. When you try to save using the conventional method and it fails, you don't just lose the money, you gain something far more destructive, evidence. Evidence that you are someone who cannot save. And your brain files that evidence carefully. It builds a case. It constructs a story about your identity, one that says, you have tried this, you know how it ends, and trying again is just setting yourself up for the same conclusion. That story is not just discouraging, it is operationally lethal, because your financial behavior doesn't follow your intentions. It follows your identity. If you believe, at the level of quiet daily assumption, that you are bad with money, you will behave like someone who is bad with money. Not because you're weak, because that is how human psychology works. The actions follow the story, always. So the question was never, how do I save more money? The real question, the one nobody was asking, is how do I change the story my brain tells about who I am when it comes to money? That is the question the $20 rule was designed to answer. Let me tell you about the $20 rule. Here is the rule. Every single time money comes in, paycheck, gig shift, freelance project, cash from a family member, any payment of any kind, you manually transfer $20 into a separate savings account. That is it. That is the entire rule. I already know what just happened in your head. $20, that's the big revelation. That's what's going to change my life. And I need you to sit with that reaction for a moment, because that reaction is exactly the problem. That instinct to dismiss small things is the very reason you don't have savings right now. We have been conditioned to believe that meaningful change requires meaningful sacrifice, that if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't count, that $20 is too small to matter. $20 is not the point. The point is what your brain does when you move $20 manually, deliberately, repeatedly, every single time money arrives. Let me give you the mechanics precisely, because the details matter more than most people realize. The account has to be new, not the account you've been using for years, the one with a history of deposits and withdrawals and reversals your brain already associates with financial failure. A brand new account, zero balance, clean psychological slate. You name it, something that creates a small emotional response when you see it. The vault, the freedom fund, the not touching this account. Whatever makes you feel something, most banks will let you open a second savings account in under 5 minutes. Do not spend 3 days researching the highest interest rate. That search is sophisticated procrastination dressed up as responsibility. Pick one, open it, move forward. You set a threshold, the minimum payment that triggers the transfer. Regular paycheck, every paycheck. Gig worker with unpredictable income, maybe every time you earn $150 in a single shift. The threshold gives structure to chaos. Your income can swing wildly from week to week. Your savings habit does not have to. And here is the instruction that sounds wrong but is the most important one. Do not automate this. Everything in personal finance tells you to automate your savings. Set it and forget it. Remove the decision entirely. But that advice for someone trying to build the habit from zero is exactly backwards. You need to feel this. You need to make a deliberate choice each time. You need to watch the number in that new account increase by $20 because of something you consciously did. Your brain is not building a savings account, it is building a neural pathway, a groove in how it processes money that connects receiving income to the act of saving. Automation skips that groove entirely. You need repetition. You need the conscious act. The number grows slowly at first. 20, 40, 80, 160. It feels like nothing, but somewhere around the 5th or 6th transfer, something subtle shifts. You stop seeing that balance as small. You start seeing it as yours. You built it. It came from choices you made deliberately, repeatedly, against an instinct that told you it was pointless. And then, without any external motivation, without anyone telling you to, you find yourself wondering whether you could move $30 next time. That question is the entire mechanism. That is how the habit evolves. Not because of discipline, because of evidence. Because you have now proven to yourself that you are someone who saves, and someone who saves naturally asks how much more they can save. Here is what is actually happening in your brain. There are 4 things this rule does to your psychology that conventional savings advice never touches. Understanding them changes how you see your own financial behavior permanently. The first is that it operates inside what habit researchers call the Goldilocks zone. It is small enough to execute on your worst week, exhausted, stressed, stretched, and still feel like forward movement. It is not so large that it creates genuine financial hardship and forces a reversal. Nearly every savings attempt that fails because the amount was set at a level that caused real pain. Real pain is unsustainable. $20 almost never causes real pain. It causes momentum. The second is that it makes progress visible in real time. Watch a number climb from 0, 20, 60, 120, 280, and your brain responds the way it responds to leveling up. Progress, you can see, triggers a dopamine response. You start to care about the number. You start to want it higher. You start to protect it instinctively. Compare that to traditional savings accounts where money flows in and immediately flows back out during the next crisis. No number climbs, no progress registers. Chaos produces no motivation in anyone. A rising number produces it automatically. The third is that the money remains completely accessible. This matters enormously for someone with no financial safety net. You are not locking funds in a retirement account you cannot touch for decades. You are not exposing the money to market risk. If a genuine emergency arrives, and it will, you can withdraw that money the same day without penalty, without guilt. The account is a tool, not a test. And knowing that you can reach the money is precisely what makes you feel safe enough to leave it alone. Research on gig workers found that those with even $500 to $1,000 in savings were 3 times more likely to grow their income in the following year. Not because the money itself created opportunity, but because the security it provided gave them the psychological breathing room to take risks, to negotiate, to turn down bad work, to invest in equipment. Security compounds. This is how it starts. The fourth mechanism is the one that rewrites everything. Identity. When you're broke, you carry a story. It usually sounds like, I'm just not good with money. I've tried saving before. I know how this ends. I'll figure it out when I'm earning more. That story is not just painful. It is self-executing. Your brain will find ways to confirm it unconsciously, automatically, constantly, because the brain is a pattern-matching machine that prefers consistency over growth. If your identity says you cannot save, your behavior will continuously generate evidence that you are right. But when you make the $20 transfer 5 times, 10 times, 15 times in a row, the story has a problem. The story says you cannot save. The account says you can. One of them is wrong. And slowly, quietly, without any dramatic moment of realization, the story begins to update. You become someone who saves, not someone trying to, someone who does. And when that identity shifts, the behavior that follows it shifts automatically because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are simply acting like who you now believe you are. Someone did this for 8 months, saved $2,000. Then their laptop died completely. They withdrew $1,400, bought a refurbished replacement, and still had $600 left in the account. They said the remarkable part wasn't having the money. It was how they felt when the laptop failed. No panic, no spiral, no desperate calculation of which bill to sacrifice, just a quiet, steady, I'll handle this. That feeling, that specific absence of dread, is what financial confidence actually is. Not a large number. A calm certainty. If this is hitting differently than the usual money content you watch, take 2 seconds to hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel, and I notice every single one. Let me tell you about a secret I don't share with anyone. Here are some levels can help rebrand you. Once the habit exists, there is a clear and honest sequence for building from it. Level 1 is repetition. You are not focused on the amount. You are focused on completion, making the transfer every single time the threshold is hit. You are writing the identity. The amount is secondary. Consistency is everything. Level 2 is natural expansion. Once $20 feels effortless, and you will find yourself asking whether 30 is possible. Then 40. Some weeks it will still be 20. That is completely fine. The habit doesn't break when the amount varies. It breaks only when you stop. Variation is allowed, stopping is not. Level 3 is reaching $2,000. This number matters specifically because it covers the majority of small financial emergencies. A car repair, a broken phone, an unexpected medical bill. Once you have $2,000 in that account, your emotional response to financial surprises changes permanently. The unexpected becomes manageable instead of catastrophic. That shift in how you experience money is worth more than any specific dollar amount. Level 4 is 3 full months of actual expenses. Calculate your real monthly costs, rent, food, utilities, minimum debt payments, multiply by 3. That is the target traditional financial advice has always pointed to. This is where you eventually arrive. It may take a year. That is not slow. That is realistic. And realistic is the only pace that is sustainable. What is not sustainable is beginning at level 4 without completing levels 1 through 3. That is why most people's saving stories look identical. Optimistic beginning, crisis reversal, shame, extended pause, repeat. The problem was never the destination. It was the missing first step. Let me tell you about the steps you can take that can change your life starting today. Before this video ends, not tomorrow, not after the next paycheck, open a new savings account. 5 minutes, any reputable bank, zero balance, name it something that means something to you. Decide your threshold tonight. Write it down, be specific. Every time I receive this amount or more, $20 moves to the account. Put it somewhere you will see it. Make your first transfer today, $20 right now. This is the most important transfer of your life, not because of the amount, but because of what it begins. The first repetition is the hardest. Everything after it is easier because it already happened once. Check the account once a week. Just once. Watch the number. Let your brain see what it is building. Let saving become associated with progress, not deprivation. At the 3-month mark, ask yourself honestly whether $30 is possible. Let the habit evolve at its own pace. Do not force the timeline. Trust the process. Before I leave, this is what I want to say to you. I want to go back to that grocery store for a moment. The person doing mental arithmetic in the olive oil aisle is not there because they are irresponsible. They are not there because they spent foolishly or made catastrophic decisions. They are there because nobody ever showed them how to build the first rung of the ladder. They were handed advice designed for people already standing on it and told to simply climb. The $20 rule is the first rung. It is not the whole ladder. It will not make anyone rich by itself. What it will do, what it does with quiet, compounding certainty, is change the story. And the story is what produces every financial decision you will ever make. The story is what determines whether money is something that happens to you or something you direct. The person who ends the year with $1,180 saved, having survived 3 emergencies without debt, did not get there through exceptional income or exceptional discipline. They got there by making one small decision repeatedly until the decision stopped requiring effort and simply became who they were. That identity is available to you, regardless of what you currently earn, regardless of what your history with money looks like, regardless of how many times you have tried before and watched it collapse. The distance between the person doing grocery store arithmetic and the person who handles emergencies without panic is $20 and a decision made today. The only real question is whether you will make it. If you are genuinely getting something out of this, consider subscribing. I make videos like this every week, and I try to make every single one worth your time. Thank you for watching. My name is Zik, and I'll see you in the next one.